We all know Excel is hell, so let's make it a little bit more fun with this prank. I'll show you how to make data disappear in a sort of wave format before someone's eyes, and this will be a fun little prank to pull on your coworkers. So we're going to make data disappear cell by cell, row by row, column by column. Now let's run the macro. Here I'm running this one by hand. And oh no, the data is gone! How do I stop this from happening? This is so horrible. Note that sometimes it may hang, especially for the first time that you run the macro or so, but it's still kind of a fun little experience. Now, since I'm not totally evil, I didn't actually delete the data. It's all still here, just you can't see it. So what we can do is select all of the cells, you can start to see the data, and then make it black again. So all I did here is to make the text color for the cells the same as the background color. That's a very simple way to make it look like you're deleting or removing data when you're not actually doing anything to it except for changing its color. Before I continue though, note that this is going to be a little bit tricky to do on cells where there is conditional formatting, such as in this column, or if you've got cells with different colors, and let's say that you want the user to be able to get the spreadsheet back to the way it was beforehand. If you run a macro, you're not going to be able to hit Control Z and undo everything. That's why I've simply run this macro on this data in the middle, because usually source data is going to be just plain data, no special formatting except for maybe a $ or something like that. So let's go take a look at this macro. Alt F11. Now this one's a little bit tricky, or it can look like it's tricky. The first thing that we want to do here is to add this line. And you may not have seen this before, but it's going to allow us to use basically the sleep function. So make sure that you have that in there above anything else that you've got in your module. And if you're not sure how to insert a module, simply go to Insert, Module, and you put your code in there. So first we need this line, then we can get to our macro. Once you copy the macro, the only things that you need to change are this cell reference here and this cell reference here. This one here, range start, will be the upper leftmost part of the range that you would like to remove your data from. And this one will be the bottom rightmost part of that range. So B4 and G33, if we go back to the spreadsheet, B4 is right here, G33 is right here. So you can see it is simply this range. The next parts of the macro are just to get the data as a range, then figure out how many rows and columns you actually have, run it through some for loops so that you can delete each cell individually, or make it look like that at least. So here is where we actually hide or make it look like the data has been deleted. I simply choose the cell and then change the font color to white. You can change it to whatever you need there. Now here is where we make it have a little pause so the user can see the data being removed and give them a chance to kind of freak out a little bit. This is also why we needed the very first line above the macro so that we could use sleep. And this is great because this number here is in milliseconds, which means that 1000 equals 1 second. So 100 would be a tenth of a second. Here I've chosen 50, so 50 milliseconds, and then the next cell will have its color turned to white, and then the next cell, and so on. So you can play around with that number and change it as you want. Now you can pause the screen and copy this macro here in its entirety, starting up here, and then down here. Or you can wait for me to upload it to the website teachexcel.com, where you can then view the video and download this spreadsheet as well. Also note that here I do not have something that triggers this macro to run. So I don't have it triggered to run if you click a cell in this range, which would actually be a good one to do, and I show you in the next Excel prank, or if user simply changes the cell in the worksheet or changes the worksheet, or a million different ways you can trigger the macro. But look through some of the other Excel prank and Excel macro tutorials to get an idea of how you may want to run that. But as far as this macro goes, that's pretty much all there is. So make sure to subscribe, and if you try the prank, let me know how it goes.